the billionaire CEO just found out that his chances of having a kid were only 1 in a million. When he heard the news that the family line was about to die out, his father was so devastated that he collapsed right there in the doctor's office. Later, feeling hopeless, the CEO was standing by a swimming pool. Right as he threw a small bottle into the water, a woman suddenly came up to the surface, changing his life forever. A month later, that same woman was at the doctor's office, where she found out she was pregnant. She was in complete shock, insisting she had never been with a man. The doctor could only explain that a pregnancy can happen from just fluid contact. 6 years went by in the blink of an eye. The woman was at the hospital with her young son when the CEO showed up with his father. The older man was now in a wheelchair, his health ruined by 6 years of sadness over not having an heir. He cried out that his billion-dollar fortune had no one to inherit it. In a desperate moment, he prayed for a grandson and accidentally dropped his prayer beads, which scattered all over the floor. Just then, a little boy stopped the rolling beads with his foot, picked them up, and called the old man Grandpa. The boy gently told the old man he should be more careful. The old man was so amazed that he miraculously stood up from his wheelchair. Convinced this was his grandson, he immediately pulled the child in for a hug. The boy insisted he had the wrong person, and the family butler quietly pointed out that this was the 6th kid the old man had mistaken for his grandson that year. But the old man wouldn't let him go. Before the boy left, the grandfather handed him a business card, begging him to call. Without anyone seeing, he had secretly taken a piece of the boy's hair. He immediately set up a paternity test. A little while later, he got a phone call. The doctor on the phone confirmed the unbelievable news that the boy was, in fact, his real grandson. The woman shoves the little boy to the floor, cruelly calling him a bastard. This was his own grandmother, who had just come to the hospital with her rich new family to torture her sick ex-husband. She said she was relieved she had divorced the old man, which saved her from being stuck with his family of losers. Her new husband joined in, making fun of the sick man for having a daughter who had a kid without being married. At that very moment, the billionaire who was the boy's real grandfather was celebrating the good news from the paternity test. He was so happy about finally having an heir that the excitement caused him to collapse and be rushed to the hospital. At the same time, the boy's mother found out that her own father, a street sweeper, was dying of cancer. She found him working in the heavy rain, trying to hide his sickness to save money for her and his grandson, but he also collapsed and was taken to the same hospital. The two families ran into each other when they arrived. The old billionaire, lying on a gurney, saw the boy and said he was his grandson, but his son, the CEO, just thought he was seeing things. Still, to calm his father down, the CEO started a citywide search for the boy with a $5 million reward, having no idea the kid was just a few rooms away. In his own room, the billionaire grandfather was sure he could hear his grandson crying. He got out of his bed, fell, and started desperately crawling toward the sound. When the CEO found him, he insisted his father was imagining things and forced him back to his room. As they went down the hall, they came face to face with the boy's mother, who had just gotten there to see her family brutally attacking her sick father on the floor. The man viciously kicks the sick old man lying on the floor. As he gets ready to hit him again, the man's daughter protects her father, taking the brutal blows herself. Seeing his daughter get beaten, the sick father uses his last bit of strength in a final stand, tackling the guy before passing out unconscious and bleeding. The family just laughs in response. To save her father, the woman agrees to a terrible deal. She'll marry a strange old man for the money to pay for his medical bills. Her little boy, heartbroken, suggests he go to an orphanage so she won't have to make such a big sacrifice. While this tragic scene is happening, the billionaire CEO's father is in a VIP room nearby. His butler steps out into the hallway and is shocked to see the little boy, who he recognizes as the long-lost young master of the whole family. Hearing the child's cries, the old billionaire grabs the phone and calls his son, the CEO. He yells that he's found his grandson and threatens to die if the CEO doesn't come back to the hospital right away. Though he's annoyed, the CEO agrees to come back because he's worried about his father. Meanwhile, the woman's cruel mother stomps her high heel right on her ex-husband's bleeding hand. As the man lies dying, his daughter begs for help, but her family just makes fun of her. They sneer that doctors are for saving people, not for dealing with the bodies of beggars. Her mother adds one last insult, bragging that her son works at this very hospital, the famous Hui Group Hospital, where their family gets free medical care, something the others will never get. The man brutally kicks the woman to the floor and grabs her crying son while her husband lies bleeding nearby. The man's parents watch with cold satisfaction, telling him to send the boy to an orphanage right away. The mother desperately tries to hold on to her son, but the man shoves her down again and starts to choke her, threatening her life for fighting back. The boy pleads with the man not to hurt his mother or his grandfather who was dying in the hospital. This only makes the man angrier, and he raises his hand to hit the child. Suddenly, a powerful voice yells at him to stop. An elderly man in hospital pajamas storms in. Before the man can answer, the elderly man slaps him hard across the face. The bully's mother protests the old man hitting her son, but he shoves her to the ground without a second thought. He then slaps her husband, calling them all blind fools. The elderly man announces that the little boy is the one and only, precious heir of the whole family, and that bullying him is like digging their own graves. He asks if they think that he, Ho Genting, is already dead. Instantly, the bullies are frozen with terror. They realize the child they were about to throw away is the grandson of the city's most powerful man. The woman and her son cry desperately over her dying father, begging for help. The powerful young man tells someone to call a doctor immediately. As he does, he looks at the woman, and they both feel a strange sense of knowing each other. When the doctor arrives, he tells them the father is in very bad shape. He then pulls the young man aside and guesses that his father, Ho Genting, might have dementia for claiming a strange child as his grandson. The young man apologizes to the woman for his father's apparent confusion, and she feels sorry for the old man, thinking it's all a tragic misunderstanding. Meanwhile, the captured bullies are held back by bodyguards. The main bully, still arrogant, brags about his job with the powerful Hu group and threatens the old man. Furious, Hu Genting hits him with his cane, yelling that anyone who harms his grandson is asking to die. The doctor comes back with terrible news. The father needs surgery right away that costs $5 million. Hearing this, the father refuses the treatment, wanting to save the money for his daughter and grandson before he passes out. The boy drops to his knees and begs the powerful old man to save his grandfather, offering to be his slave for the rest of his life in return. Seeing his grandson's desperation, Ho Genting turns to his own son and slaps him hard across the face. He scolds the young man for being so heartless that he won't even acknowledge his own child. Stunned, the young man insists that he has never seen the woman or the boy before, but his father furiously threatens to break his legs if he tries to leave. Furious, Hu Genting disowns his son for abandoning his family. As they argue, the boy begs him to stop fighting and promises to do anything to save his dying grandfather. Moved to tears, Hu Genting complains that his own grandson, the heir to billions, is forced to live a life of struggle. His son's cold denial makes him even angrier, and he accuses his son of being the reason for his grandson's suffering, then collapses from all the emotion. After the old man is rushed away, Hu Jingshan deals with the bullies, having them taken away and swearing that the Ho family will not let it go. He then tells the woman that he has arranged for the best doctors to treat her father and asks her and the boy to stay to comfort his own father when he wakes up. At that moment, the woman nearly faints from low blood sugar, and Jingshan catches her. Holding her, he feels a strong sense of familiarity and asks if they've met before, but she says no, and quickly leaves with her son. Later, the boy reads stories to the old man, who is filled with happiness at finally having the grandson he always wanted. The boy carefully gives the sleeping man water with a cotton swab. Just as he finishes, the three bullies walk into the room, shocked to find out that the boy they had been tormenting is the grandson of the powerful Hu Genting. The angry man grabbed the small boy by the collar, furious that this kid had made him look bad in public. He and his family had walked into the VIP hospital room by mistake, but now he planned to settle the score. He sneered that no one had ever laid a hand on him in his life, and swore he'd make the boy pay for it. The child cried out, begging the man not to hurt his grandfather, who was unconscious in the hospital bed. This only amused the man, who grabbed the boy's face and bragged about his job at the powerful Ho group, claiming even the boy's mother had to listen to him. A powerful voice came from the bed. The grandfather was awake. He dismissed the grandfather as a nobody and threw the boy to the ground, planning to deal with the old man first, before slowly torturing the child. The boy bravely got back on his feet and clung to the man's leg, but he was viciously kicked aside as the man lunged toward the hospital bed. At that exact moment, he happened to look at the television. A news report announced that the Ho group had once again set new financial records, making its chairman, Hu Genting, the wealthiest man in the world. The screen showed a picture of the very same old man lying in the bed. The man froze. His mother and father were paralyzed with fear, realizing they were about to attack the most powerful man in the country. As they stood there, in shocked silence, the door flew open and the boy's mother rushed in, demanding to know what they were doing. The mother furiously ordered them to leave. The man, trying to act tough again, sneered that she was just a country girl who didn't understand how serious this was. His father bragged that his son was now an employee of the Ho group, and that offending him was the same as offending the whole company. Just then, the old man sat up straight in his bed, and his voice boomed through the room, identifying himself as the head of the Ho group. The billionaire chairman's words filled the room, but his daughter-in-law wasn't scared. She said that being part of the Ho group didn't give them the right to bully people. He made fun of her for thinking she could change her life by getting with some random man, saying that the Ho group could do whatever it wanted. He bragged that the whole hospital belonged to them, and that with a single word, he could have her and the old man's medical support cut off, leaving them to die in pain. He declared that if she wanted to save them, she would have to get on her knees and bow 100 times. The little boy, terrified for his grandfather, bravely dropped to his knees. He begged them to let his grandpa go, promising to do whatever they wanted. But the man sneered, saying he wanted the mother to kneel like a dog and beg. To save her son from the humiliation, the woman immediately knelt and bowed, pleading for them to spare her family. This just made the man and his parents laugh hysterically. He then viciously kicked her to the ground, calling her a shameless tramp and revealing a shocking secret. She was not his sister, but the illegitimate child of his mother's dead ex-husband, a nobody with no family connection to them. He grabbed her by the throat, vowing to end the life of the woman who had brought shame to their name, just as she was about to pass out. A powerful kick sent the man flying across the room. At that same moment, the door burst open and a team of men in black suits walked in, led by a butler. The man and his parents froze in terror, realizing this was not just any old man, it was Chairman Huo. He scrambled on his knees, begging for his life, but the chairman ignored him. He went straight to his grandson and the woman, tearfully apologizing for letting them suffer. He then confirmed what she suspected. He was the boy's grandfather, the head of the whole family. The man's blood ran cold. The little stray he had been tormenting was the sole heir to the Hu fortune. The chairman promised he would call his son at once and force him to come and acknowledge them, giving them the status they deserved. The woman said she was worried the old man had dementia, admitting she didn't even know who his son was. But Chairman Ho was insistent, declaring that the Ho family line had been missing for too long, and he couldn't stand it for another day. He was getting ready to call his son and bring them home. The man, still held by the guards, screamed that the chairman was being tricked. He called the woman a shameless tramp, and her son a bastard with a father nobody knows. The chairman viciously slapped him to the ground, ordering him to shut up and threatening to make his life a living hell. The little boy comforted his grandfather, telling him not to be angry, which calmed the old man down. He immediately called his son, Jingshin, and ordered him to come back to the hospital for something that involved his own biological son. On the other end of the line, the son was dismissive, saying that it was impossible for him to have a child. The chairman, however, didn't want to hear his excuses. He hung up and declared that the woman was now the young lady of the Ho family and his official daughter-in-law. Hearing this, the man's mother had a sudden and complete change of heart. She yelled at her husband, calling him crazy for trying to serve a sick old man. She then viciously slapped him and demanded a divorce, announcing she was going to remarry her daughter's father. But the woman coldly told her that her father would never remarry a woman like her. Realizing her plan had failed, the mother fell to her knees and begged for forgiveness, but the woman just stared back, reminding her of all the years she and her son had been abused. Seeing how pathetic they were, Chairman Ho ordered his men to get them out of there and banish them from the city forever. A woman with a bleeding lip kneels on the floor, desperately begging for forgiveness, but her daughter and grandson stand back, showing no emotion. The woman tries to appeal to the boy, calling herself grandma and promising to love him more than his own mother, even offering to buy him toys. But her daughter reminds her of a time when she called the boy a bastard who would never be accepted into their family. The woman now claims she was confused at the time and that the boy is her most precious grandson. She keeps begging, offering to be a servant, to wash her daughter's feet, and promising to obey any command. But the daughter is unmoved, asking if she ever saw this day coming when she abandoned her so many years ago. The woman frantically insists it was all a misunderstanding, a way to train her daughter and make her stronger. At this, the old man sitting on the hospital bed finally steps in, ordering his men to remove them. As they are being dragged away, the woman screams that she is the daughter's real mother and that she can't be so heartless. The daughter calmly says that she will forgive her, but only if her father does as well. The mother starts bowing on the ground, apologizing over and over. The daughter silences her, her face hardening as she remembers the truth. In a flashback, the mother is seen abandoning her own sick daughter in the freezing snow, throwing her to the ground to leave on a motorcycle with another man. The little girl, feverish and crying, runs after them until she collapses, alone in the street. Back in the present, the daughter tells the woman that her mother was basically killed by her actions at the age of 6, and so, she is not her mother. The brother insists on their family connection, saying that blood is thicker than water. The daughter explodes, shouting that they never treated her or her father like family. The old man has heard enough. He commands his men to throw the two out and to make sure he never sees them in the city again. They are dragged out, kicking and screaming. After they're gone, the family finally has a moment of peace. The old man comforts his granddaughter, telling her that people like that aren't worth her tears. Feeling suddenly better, he decides to leave the hospital and go home with his family. As they get ready to leave, he tells his assistant to call his rebellious son and order him to get to the hospital immediately.